In Burkina Faso's Sahara, where the sun scorches the earth and the winds whip sand into the sky, this land was once the last place anyone cared about. No shade, no water, no refuge for any living being. But today, on this unforgiving soil, a new dream has been born. It is the dream of President Ibrahim Traore, a dream to bring back the world's last wild horses into the deserts of Burkina Faso. This isn't a movie. It isn't a fairy tale. It is reality. A reality tied to years of scientific research, environmental strategy, and above all, leadership with vision. Traore is not just a soldier. He is a leader who looks beyond war and politics. When he came to power, the country was drowning in poverty, famine, and foreign pressure. But Traore didn't just talk about the economy, the army, or politics. He declared a revolution in the language of nature itself. A strange question filled his heart. Can our land not host wild horses running free once again? It wasn't just about wildlife. It was about national pride. These horses, once roaming across Asia, were slowly erased from the earth. Could Burkina Faso become their home? When scientists, zoologists, and environmentalists first heard the plan, many laughed. Some doubted. "Mr. President, this is a desert," they said. "There is only sand here, no life." But Traore listened quietly, and then replied, "Even sand has a pulse. Life can grow anywhere, if the will is there." That moment marked the beginning of change. He started humbly, carving out a small, protected zone in the desert. The land was prepared, water reserves built, and grass planted. Everything necessary for the horses' survival was laid down. Then came the first caravan, 6 horses flown in from a European sanctuary. Their eyes carried strangeness, their steps, hesitation. But when their hooves touched the soil of Burkina Faso, something shifted. It was as if the desert itself softened, as if the silence of centuries broke. The Sahara seemed to whisper, "Welcome home." These were not ordinary horses. They were Przewalski's horses, the last truly wild horses, once captured by human greed, now returning to freedom. Traore stood silently watching. His eyes glistened. His face carried a question. Is this just the beginning? Or can we truly call nature back? At first, the 6 horses wavered between captivity and freedom. Their eyes flashed with fear, then curiosity. The heat was new. The soil smelled different. The air carried strangeness. Experts kept them under strict watch. GPS trackers, daily reports, every move recorded. But soon, the dream faced its first nightmare. Within a week, one mare fell ill. Gas built up in her stomach. She could barely walk. Western experts declared, "This land is not made for horses. This project is just fantasy. It will end in failure." Traore was informed. He cancelled all, his political and military meetings, and rushed to the desert. He walked straight to the sick mare, placed his hand on her forehead, and said softly, "This is not just a horse. This is our nation's first hope. If she falls, we all fall." That night, he gathered local experts, village vets, and even old shepherds. "We don't need foreign wisdom," he said. "We must raise these horses in the way of our land, not by Europe's rules." An old shepherd named Kouadou spoke quietly. "Mr. President, horses need water, grass, and shade. But more than that, they need human familiarity. They live when they feel human breath, human care, and human warmth. Those words changed everything. VIDDD. Next morning, young volunteers were trained to sit near the horses, feed them by hand, and walk silently around them. It wasn't just treatment. It was trust. Slowly, the sick mare recovered. Days later, she lifted her head and ran across the sand. Her stride was different, proud, fierce. It was as if she declared, "We are still here. We have returned." First crisis was overcome, but the real story had only begun. Traore told his team, "This is not just about bringing back horses. It's about teaching our nation that we are heirs of nature, not its enemies. If we can bring life to the Sahara, we can succeed anywhere." Week by week, the desert changed. Hooves thundered across the sand. People from distant villages came to see. Children, elders, students, farmers. For some, it was wonder. For others, hope. For many, pride. The Sahara was no longer just geography. It was becoming a symbol of national identity. Traore expanded the project beyond conservation. He tied it to education, culture, and the economy. An eco-education center was built in the desert. Children learned about environmental science, national pride, and the balance of life. To them, the horses weren't just animals. They were teachers. But as the project gained fame, enemies awoke. Foreign media called it a PR stunt. Critics mocked it. And then, one night, tragedy struck. A horse vanished. Hours later, its body was found near a river, killed. Standing before the carcass, Traore whispered, "This is not just the death of a horse. This is a test of our resolve. We must swear on its blood. We will not retreat." Security was tightened. Intelligence agencies divided their focus, some hunting for betrayal from within, others tracing suspicious foreign NGOs and journalists. Traore launched Operation Shahar, a security system where biometric collars and drones monitored every horse. Locals, especially youth, were recruited as Sahara Guards. In a powerful desert speech, later called the Sahara Oath, Traore declared, "This is not just wildlife. This is our war of generations. If we don't fight for our dreams, we will become fuel for others' plans." The words spread like fire. People poured into the desert, not to watch the horses, but to protect them. Children lit candles. Mothers brought water and grass. Volunteers signed up as guards. The killing meant to spread fear had instead ignited a movement. But threats grew darker. Intelligence traced suspicious chemicals and devices to a foreign network. They weren't protecting nature. They were trying to exploit it. The horses were just the beginning. The goal was genetic experiments and possibly a bioweapon base. Traore convened a secret council. Only 5 men were allowed inside. Pointing to a map, he said, "These horses are not symbols. They are our land's soul. Whoever attacks them attacks our history, our freedom, our future. We will answer in a language they understand." Thus began Operation Al-Zia, a covert mission to expose enemies using their own methods. A decoy lab was set up in the desert, equipped with fake experiments and hidden cameras. Volunteers spread whispers of secret trials. One night, 4 foreign Filfetu operatives slipped into the lab. The moment they touched the equipment, the ground came alive. Buried sensors triggered. Escape routes sealed. The desert itself closed around them. They were captured. But Traore gave strict orders. No torture. No forced confessions. We will defeat them not with cruelty, but with dignity. The next day, the captives were taken to the village where a bombing had once destroyed a tent. Children drew horses in the sand. Mothers sprinkled water on the ground. Elders looked at the prisoners silently, as if saying, "We do not hate you. We only pity you." One of the women broke down crying. She confessed, "We were sent by a European think tank. The horses were only an entry point. The real goal was to test genetic weapons and establish a bioweapon base in the Sahara." Traore was shaken. He looked at the sky and murmured, "The desert speaks truth. Nature never stays silent. It only waits for the right moment to reveal it." He turned to the prisoners. "You will not rot in secret cells. You will face the world. We will hand you to the International Court. So the world knows our horses, our desert, and our children will never be crushed in your experiments." The revelation shocked the globe. The UN called an emergency session. Traore's speech went viral. "We escaped old chains of slavery, but new ones, with new faces, are trying to return. Burkina Faso has exposed them. The Sahara will not stay silent. Every step, every horse, every child here is a message. We are awake now, and no one will ever put us back to sleep."